And welcome to Weather Geeks, and I am here today with Kathy Winters, and this is a really interesting show today, and particularly interesting to me because I'm a former NASA guy. She is a launch weather officer with the U.S. Air Force 45th Weather Squadron, and she's going to tell us a little bit more about what she does. Thank you for joining us today. Now tell us right off the bat, what does it mean to be a launch weather officer?
Well, we provide the weather for all the launches at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station and Kennedy Space Center. So we're forecasting the weather for launch and also making the go or no go call for the weather for the launches.
Right. Now, I mean, how did you get into that? I mean, tell us a little bit about your background and sort of your personal story getting from A to B.
Right. Well, I always wanted to be in the Air Force. So when I went to college, I went through the Air Force RTC program at University of Central Florida. And then the Air Force had a program called the Basic Meteorology Program.
Yeah,
so I had a degree in and I had a degree in mathematics. So they said I qualified for this program, and I found out about it, and I really thought it was interesting. So the Air Force sent me my first assignment to Florida State University.
Go
Seminoles.
Noles. Go Noles. Of course, I gotta get that in. Sorry, everyone.
Right. and so I spent 9 years doing aviation weather in the Air Force, and then I separated from the Air Force and decided to do something a little more stable for my family, and so I ended up becoming a civilian in the Air Force, and I got a job at Cape Canaveral Air Force.
Now explain that, because I spent 12 years of my career at NASA Goddard Space Flight Center as a research meteorologist, and people would always ask me, oh, what do you do? Do you forecast for space shuttle launches? Two things. Explain to people the range of launches that go on at Kennedy Space Center in a given year, and then sort of what some of the challenges you face in terms of weather and launches.
Right. So, for example, this past year we had 16 launches at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, a mix of Falcon 9, Atlas 5, and Delta 4 launches.
Now, those are different types of rocket systems?
These are different rockets, right?
Yeah. And what's some of the payload? I mean, look, I think people are familiar with the shuttles, but I mean, they're launching everything from perhaps your DirecTV satellites, the spy satellites, right?
Right. And then we also, for example, we're finishing up the series of GPS satellites at the beginning of next year.
And no one can live without their GPS today.
Right.
So,
and so we've launched all the GPS satellites from Cape Canaveral. So yes, we launch a mix of commercial and DoD satellites.
Now, you were telling me that next year the launch volume may pick up even some more. What's the what's different about this year versus next year?
Well, we're going to have more Falcon 9 launches this year, and we have a lot of Atlas launches on the schedule. United Launch Alliance is having those, and we have a few Deltas as well. So with that, we're going to end up with almost twice the amount, or maybe more than twice the amount of launches this year as opposed to 2015.
Now, what is the criteria for getting a launch off? I mean, you got a rocket sitting out there on the launch pad, and you're dealing with criteria. What are those?
Well, we have a whole bunch of different criteria actually, but we have a mix of rules. The vehicle itself will have specific rules for the vehicle. Then we also have lightning launch commit criteria that we're very focused on, because you can actually trigger a lightning strike with a rocket launch. So even if you don't have lightning in the area, if you build up an electrical field due to thick clouds in the area, then you might actually trigger one.
Yeah, and you were telling me that these images in the background, those are some of the towers there. Those are sort of lightning mitigation?
Right. That's for when the rocket's on the ground before launch, because it does sit out there before launch for some time, and so that's lightning protection for that time period. But then we're also concerned about not just natural lightning, but actually triggering lightning with a launch. Right.
Now, what are some of the most common weather delays that you deal with beyond lightning? I mean, I know clouds certainly are important.
Right. Yeah. We tend to have a lot of cumulus cloud in the area in the summertime, and a lot of course, if we end up launching, sometimes because of orbital mechanics, we have to launch in the afternoon of the summer.
Okay, that's a great weather geeky term. What do you mean by orbit? I know what you mean, but what do you mean by orbital mechanics?
Well,
and why Kennedy Space Center, this place where you get all this convection?
Right. Well, I know people say, why do you launch where there's all this lightning? But it's actually good to have nice warm temperatures when you have rocket fuel around, and rocket components. But also, we have orbital mechanic issues where you can only launch a vehicle at a certain time to get it in a certain orbit. It may be a long launch window, a few hours long, but sometimes it's a rendezvous mission, and then we have to launch right on a certain second. Right. So that's what we mean by that. So we can't necessarily pick the optimal time for weather to launch a rocket.
Now, isn't there something special about even the latitude that Cape Canaveral does?
Right. We're actually the best place to get into the geosynchronous orbits.
Exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
because of our latitude. So being farther south, like we are, is a good place to do that.
And some of our primary weather satellites are in geosynchronous orbit, as are our satellite TV and satellite radio. Is there anything different about forecasting for some of the rockets that you've mentioned versus the space shuttles that people are accustomed to?
Yes, the space shuttle had really robust wind constraints for exposure winds when it's sitting out on the ground. It can take a lot of wind, but once you get a rocket like a slimmer rocket like the Atlas or the Delta, they have a little bit lower wind constraints when it comes to once you're exposing the vehicle and it's out there for hours. Now the wind constraints might be in the mid-20s or
right.
For 25 knots, 30 knots. It depends on the configuration of the rocket. So because of that, you start getting thunderstorms in the area, convective wind gusts. Those are hard to predict, and so that's what makes those rockets more challenging than the shuttle launches.
And now, before the show, you were telling me about a special unit or engineering group at Marshall Space Flight Center, and you were telling me that they actually established some of the weather criteria for some of these systems. That was actually new to me, and I spent 12 years at NASA. Tell us a little bit about that group.
Right, that's the Marshall Space Flight Center Natural Environments Group.
Yeah.
And they work more during the design phase for creating the launch constraints that are vehicle specific for the vehicle. So for example, they did the space shuttle vehicle specific type constraints, and also for the new Space Launch System program that's coming up. That's already in the works now. We're already having weekly meetings working on those weather constraints.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about that. So there's a new launch system, the SLS and the Orion, that will be sitting on top of that.
Right.
Are you developing at this moment meteorological criteria for that?
Yes, we are. We are already putting together all the requirements that we have for meteorological constraints for that rocket.
Now you work for the Air Force.
Right.
So Delta IV and Kennedy Space Center. So are those your primary customers? Who else?
Right. We have a launch weather officer assigned to each vehicle. So I am the launch weather officer for the Delta IV, and I also do the Kennedy Space Center launches. So right now I'm working on the Space Launch System program. We also have the Atlas V program, which is also a United Launch Alliance program. And then we have the Falcon 9 program that SpaceX has. So we have launch weather officers assigned to each vehicle. And then we also do Navy launches, the Trident missiles. So we have a launch weather officer for that as well.
Okay.
So we specialize right from the beginning, like I'm doing with SLS program, with the constraints to the end.
And we will return with more of this fascinating discussion. All systems are go. Forecasting for a launch starts months in advance, and it even includes surf forecasting sometimes. We'll explain, but first, our Geek of the Week.
This week's Geek of the Week is Matthew Mong, Chief of Weather Training for the 45th Weather Squadron. One of his favorite types of weather is the kind that can actually spoil a launch. A sea breeze convergence on an unstable Florida morning that creates thunderstorms. And guess what? One of his favorite weather phenomena is gravity waves. I love it. Congratulations to Matthew Mong, our Geek of the Week.
I have asthma, one of many pieces in my life. So when my asthma symptoms kept coming back on my long-term control medicine, I talked to my doctor and found a missing piece in my asthma treatment.
Once daily Brio prevents asthma symptoms. Brio's for adults with asthma not well controlled on a long-term asthma control medicine, like an inhaled corticosteroid. Brio won't replace a rescue inhaler for sudden breathing problems. Brio opens up airways to help improve breathing for a full 24 hours. Brio contains a type of medicine that increases the risk of death from asthma problems and may increase the risk of hospitalization in children and adolescents. Brio is not for people whose asthma is well controlled on a long-term asthma control medicine, like an inhaled corticosteroid. Once your asthma is well controlled, your doctor will decide if you can stop Brio and prescribe a different asthma control medicine, like an inhaled corticosteroid. Do not take Brio more than prescribed. See your doctor if your asthma does not improve or gets worse.
Ask your doctor if 24-hour Brio could be a missing piece for you. See if you're eligible for 12 months free at mybrio.com.
We're geeking out on what's happening in weather, how it happens, and why it's so freaking cool.
Weather Underground, weeknights at 6 on the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 78 degrees with showers. Today, thunderstorms, high 79, winds west at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly cloudy, low 55, winds northwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Monday, partly cloudy, high 72, winds north at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
There's $1 million hidden under there.
Oh my God, look at that!
I am the blue!
All new episodes of Prospectors, Sunday nights at 9 on the Weather Channel.
The Citi Double Cash Card. It's a cashback win-win. With 1% when you buy and 1% as you pay. With 2 ways to earn on purchases, it makes a lot of other cards seem one-sided.
Doers. They don't worry if something's possible. They just do it. At Sears Optical, we're committed to bringing them eyewear that works as hard as they do. Right now, buy 1 pair and get another free. Quality eyewear for doers. Sears Optical.
Are you powered by protein? Milk has 8 grams to help give you energy to unleash your potential. Start every day with Milk's protein and Milk Life.
Constipated? Trust #1 doctor recommended Dulcolax. Use Dulcolax tablets for gentle overnight relief, suppositories for relief in minutes, and stool softeners for comfortable relief of hard stools. Dulcolax, designed for dependable relief.
Hi, you've reached Emma. I'm out of the office right now, but we'll get back to you just as soon as I possibly can.
Join Princess Cruises for exclusive Discovery at Sea experiences. Princess Cruises, come back new.
We're back with Kathy Winters, and she is helping us get our launchers and our rockets and satellites up to space. She's a weather officer, and just a fascinating discussion. Now, I teased the last segment talking about surf forecast. What does that have to do with launching rockets?
Well, sometimes to get the rocket components to the Cape, we have to bring it in via ship. So when we do that, we have to provide sometimes sea forecasts. So, for example, when the external tanks would come in for the space shuttle, that was all done. They came from the Mississippi area, the Gulf Coast.
Yes, right, exactly.
Right, and
from down at Stennis Space Center, right? Or near there?
It was up at a facility up in Michoud.
Ah, okay, Michoud,
right?
yeah.
And so they actually came around the Gulf of Mexico, around the Straits of Florida, and up the East Coast. And so that whole time we're providing weather for that operation, and other rocket components as well. And then sometimes recovery when something after the rocket launches, something falls into the water. They want to sometimes recover some of those components.
Yeah, and you're supporting that.
Right.
Now let's talk about launch day. You've been assigned the rocket launch X number of months out.
Right.
What are you starting to do at that point, starting from those months up to the rocket launch from a meteorological perspective?
Right, well, at one point the payload will arrive on an aircraft, so we'll work the offload forecast for the payload and transport to the facility it's going to be processed in. And then the boosters arrive, and we work the weather constraints. There's weather constraints for offloading and transport. So we'll work that day. We'll provide forecasts the days before those operations, and then when the operation's actually occurring, we'll actually monitor the weather during the operation. And then at some point, you got to get the vehicle out to the pad, lift it or out there, and then get the payload on top of it. So all of those operations have weather constraints, and so we're providing weather during that entire time. We have practice countdowns that we do. We call them integrated crew exercises. We practice just like it's a launch, but we actually throw in a lot of, we'll throw in some weather to the team, and they'll have other systems, failures, like a simulation.
Now, how large is your team of meteorologists and meteorological support?
Well, on launch day, we have a launch weather team of 5 people that come in, and also 2 launch weather forecasters as well. And then we also have contractors that are keeping all of our weather systems going, so that's a larger number. That's over a dozen people there. And then 8 or 10 people at the balloon facility that are launching balloons that are also contractors.
And we're going to talk, after the break. Be sure to stick around for this next story about something they do with the weather balloons. You want to hear this after the break. Now, with these scrub launches, I know this happens for various reasons. Do you guys just ever get blamed for, even though, you know how meteorologists do get blamed for things, do you get blamed and sort of criticized for some of your forecasts? Any particular stories that you remember?
I wouldn't call it criticized. What's funny is if the weather's bad, they don't really criticize us. We try to work around the weather. They realize that the weather's, tough. But sometimes if we forecast some weather that maybe there's going to be some clouds and then it's good, they still love us. So we're great, because the weather is good.
Sure.
But no, yeah, we work so closely with them as a team, with the customers. I think they see that, this is a challenging thing to do, forecast the weather for the rocket launch.
Now, you get up to launch day, are there any special routines or things that you're going through just personally, or that just from your team perspective?
Well, yes, we have crew rest, so we make sure we follow our crew rest rules to ensure we're rested. But then we all have our little superstitions. I have a certain color shirt I like to wear. Nobody's allowed to wear red. No red, because the range could be green or red for the Air Force range. So we want to be green. So we'll either wear green, or sometimes I wear blue because it's the sky blue.
Sure.
And I've had some good luck with blue. And then we have one person that wears like Superman socks. It's all kind of like a baseball thing almost, with the superstition.
Yeah, that's why I was curious, because I know people have that. Yes, we definitely
have it. We have popcorn. We have to have popcorn during the countdown.
Now, when we get back on Weather Geeks, we geek out on why it takes 5 meteorologists, you heard it, to pour over this insane amount of meteorological data, plus how a robot helps them with their job.
At Farmers, we've seen almost everything, so we know how to cover almost anything, even turkey jerks. Covered March 4th, 2014. Talk to Farmers. We've seen almost everything, so we know how to cover almost anything.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Your brain is an amazing thing, but as you get older, it naturally begins to change, causing a lack of sharpness or even trouble with recall. Thankfully, the breakthrough in Prevagen helps your brain and actually improves memory. The secret is an ingredient originally discovered in jellyfish. In clinical trials, Prevagen has been shown to improve short-term memory. Prevagen, the name to remember.
I've suffered for 18 years with dry, cracked hands.
In the winter in Chicago, it's dry, it's cold, makes my hands even worse.
O'Keeffe's Working Hands. Guaranteed relief for dry, cracked hands.
My hands feel better.
I finally found relief.
Learn more at O'Keeffe'sCompany.com.
Have you tried O'Keeffe's?
If you're looking to save money on your Medicare Part D prescriptions, Walgreens says Carpe Med Diem. Seize the day to get more out of life and Medicare Part D. Just switch to Walgreens for savings that'll be the highlight of your day. Now preview the cost of your copay before you fill. You can even get $1 copays on select plans. Walgreens, at the corner of happy and healthy.
A little rain, a little shine, a little change all the time. When the weather is fine.
Come on down to Weather Underground.
House of Appliances. Over 40 premium appliance brands and the only Miele Gallery in South Florida make our exquisite 12,000 square foot showroom a cut above the competition. Locally owned for over 35 years, House of Appliances expert sales associates, in-house delivery service, and factory certified installation teams are here to serve you. Visit House of Appliances, where customer satisfaction is the house rule.
Tragically, in an accident, sometimes we must face the reality that a loved one will pass. If they were the main provider for the family, there's a good chance they had a life insurance policy that would allow the family to carry on. Unfortunately, some insurance companies are denying benefits with the knowledge of the passing. It's wrong and it's unfair. If you've been denied benefits due to the death of a loved one, call Lytle, Ryder, Smith, Ivy, and Fronrath. We will fight for your rights.
Deal-.com and sign up now. There's $1 million hidden under there.
Oh my God, look at that!
I am the blue!
All new episodes of Prospectors, Sunday nights at 9 on the Weather Channel.
We know you have a morning routine. We have one too. 7 days a week. AMHQ is right here and weather ready.
I want to show you all the cool things that's going on in the weather.
A lot of people traveling, but we'll keep an eye on it for you.
So start your morning routine with Jim Cantori, Stephanie Abrams, Jan Carfagno, and the rest of AMHQ.
It is a team here at the Weather Channel, and an awesome team at that.
Let's get right to what you want, and that is the weather.
AMHQ, every morning starting at 5 on the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 74 degrees with light rain. Today, generally cloudy. A stray shower or thunderstorm is possible. High 78. Winds west at 10 to 20 miles per hour. Tonight, considerable cloudiness. Low 55. Winds northwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Monday, partly cloudy. High 72. Winds north at 10 to 15 miles per hour. Here's our 7-day outlook.
And we are back, and I want to get into a geek out session now on all of the data that meteorologists use to support these launches down at Kennedy Space Center. Just talk to us about some of the data that you have available as you're supporting a launch.
Right, we have a large mesonet. We have
what do you mean by mesonet for those that may not know? It's
right.
sort of
network of meteorological sensors.
Yeah.
We have over like 40 weather towers instrumented at multiple levels to help out with any toxic spill potentials.
Right.
We also have Doppler weather radar wind profilers.
Now these profilers are radar systems that are actually firing straight up and taking wind measurements.
Right, and we get the boundary layer with our 915 megahertz profilers, and then we also get the upper levels with the 50 megahertz profiler that NASA actually has.
Now, weather balloons. I think people know what those are, but they play a significant role in your operations. Tell us about that, and then tell us about the unique partnership you have with this robotic system.
Right, so weather balloons are one launch mandatory system because it helps provide the information for the loads that are going to be on the vehicle during ascent and to ensure it's going to make orbit as well.
Right.
So because of that, it's our one launch mandatory system. It can be a perfectly beautiful day, so we could live without radar because we could see that the weather's good, satellite even if we knew the weather was good. But if the balloon system doesn't work, then we cannot launch a rocket.
Right.
So we had a little bit of trouble last year with a few launches where we couldn't let somebody go out and launch a balloon because we had lightning within 5 miles of the facility, and that's a safety issue. So we came up with a way to get around this, and that was to work with a local high school robotics team and come up with our WeatherBot, which is a robot that...
you said WeatherBot.
WeatherBot is what we call it. It's our robot. It was made by the Pink team.
Okay.
So it's a pink robot, but it rolls out. We use a remote control. We can actually launch a balloon with the robot.
So you're telling me that a group of students helped prototype and develop a weather robot system that support sounding launches, and it's now operational for the U.S. Air Force and NASA.
Yes, it is. They were mentored by an engineer, a robotics engineer at NASA, and with some help from our group as well. Our squadron got the requirements together, and they developed this robot. And I even watched them get the parts and put it all together at a local high school. It was really something.
Now, you were saying that you have a team of 5 or more meteorologists, and before the show started, you were talking about there's a specific meteorologist that's on radar. There's a specific meteorologist that's on. So tell us about some of these different sort of components or stations.
Right, we have a person that is specifically designated to talk to an aircraft, a weather aircraft, and then we also have a person designated launch weather officer on our radar, our weather radar, that's also looking at all of our lightning systems as well. And so if anyone on our team is no-go because of something they see or get information from the aircraft that means we're no-go, they call it no-go and we're no-go. And then we have to have a consensus to go back to go. But they use information from the radar and the aircraft, and we have to have someone dedicated to do that.
So you can literally, your team can literally stop a shuttle launch or a rocket launch.
Right, we would call it no-go for weather.
Yeah.
And so it would go to our launch decision authority, which is usually our wing commander, and then that would make the range, the Air Force range, red and no-go.
Now, in this last minute, what do you foresee as you move into this new launch system, new sort of era there? By the way, NASA still exists. I get that a lot because when they stop launching space shuttles, oh, NASA go away. But what is the big challenge you see going forward in your world as it relates to the new systems?
Well, we want to integrate all of our data and have it all integrated into one weather system, and it would be really amazing if someday we could automate all of this and just be monitoring an automated system. So that would be like the wave of the future for us, if you will.
Right. Now, I think we'll have to end it there, but I think one thing interesting for our viewers is you told me you guys still use Mercatus, which is many of our Weather Geeks viewers will certainly know what Mercatus is, but I just found that fascinating.
Right.
Thank you so much for joining us. This has been fascinating. Weather Geeks fans, we'd love to hear your thoughts on the show. As usual, we're out there on Twitter at WX Geeks, TWC. And we also have a Facebook page. We'll see you next week on Weather Geeks.
Toyota. Let's go places. Fact. When emergency room doctors choose an OTC pain reliever for their patient's muscle, back, and joint pain, the medicine in Advil is their #1 choice. Nothing is stronger on tough pain than Advil. Relief doesn't get any better than this. Advil.
Here in the city, parking is hard to find. Seems like everyone drives. And those who do should switch to Geico because you could save hundreds on car insurance. Oh, perfect. Valet parking. Hello.
Evening, sir.
Here's the keys. And go easy on my right, mate. Wouldn't mind some of that beef Wellington.
To see how much you could save on car insurance, go to geico.com.
It's okay. I'm Jerry Bell II.
And Jerry Bell III.
I'm like a big bear, and he's my little cub. This little guy is non-stop. He's always want to hang out with his friend. Got to be prepared to sit at the edge of your seat and be ready to get up. There's no deep couch sitting. It's definitely not good for my back. This is the part I really don't like right here. What's that?
Package.
It's a Swiffer wet jet. It almost feels like it's moving itself. This is kind of fun. That comes from my floor? This is deep couch sitting.
Deep couch sitting.
I'm Andy, and I lost 30 pounds on Nutrisystem.
Listen up, guys. You want to shed a few pounds? You got a beer belly going on? You can't fit into your pants? I've got one word for you. Nutrisystem. I'm Dan Marino, and I lost 22 pounds with Nutrisystem.
Lose weight fast with Nutrisystem's all-new Turbo 10.
Lose up to 10 pounds plus 5 inches in your first month.
I'm Essex, and I lost 43 pounds on Nutrisystem.
Put down the pie, pick up the phone, and get with the program today.
I'm Michael, and I lost 50 pounds on Nutrisystem.
The food's awesome. If you're like me and you like to eat, that's what you get to do. With Turbo 10, you get delicious meals in 1 week of all-new Turbo Shakes. Free, packed with protein plus probiotics to bust that gut.
And 1 week of NutriCrush shakes to crush hunger. Free.
Nutrisystem works. You'll love it, guaranteed. So guys, put down the pie and pick up the phone right now.
Call 877-671-THIN and get the all-new Turbo 10 with 14 shakes free.
Make the cash call and ask for the do-over refi. If you refinanced your mortgage in the last 18 months, we can redo it at a lower rate, like today's 2.99% rate and APR with no closing costs. Just call 855-890-CASH.
A little rain, a little shine, a little change all the time. And the birds will sing, 'cause the weather will bring happiness to the hearts of the lonely. Will change our minds when the weather is fine.
Come on down to Weather Underground, weeknights at 6 on the Weather Channel.
Currently in our area, 74 degrees with light rain.
We know you have a morning routine. We have one too. 7 days a week, AMHQ is right here and weather ready.
We want to show you all the cool things that's going on in the weather.
A lot of people traveling, but we'll keep an eye on it for you.
So start your morning routine with Jim Cantori, Stephanie Abrams, Jan Carfagna, and the rest of AMHQ.
It is a team here at the Weather Channel, and an awesome team at that.
Let's get right to what you want, and that is the weather.
AMHQ, every morning starting at 5 on the Weather Channel.
You can plan all you want, but Mother Nature's going to dictate what happens.
We better hurry. That is one heck of a storm building.
There's $1 million hidden under there.
Oh my God, look at that! Oh! Black!
I am the blue!
All new episodes of Prospectors, Sunday nights at 9 on the Weather Channel.
We have uncovered a remarkable planet. A world of extreme weather, alien landscapes, and bizarre phenomena. It's the most complex system we know of in the universe. That planet is Earth. And we are only beginning to unlock its secrets. The planet Earth is a haven for life.
Conditions are perfect. I mean, they really are perfect.
Oceans of liquid water make life possible.
But that's not enough.
A complex secret gives Earth its life, while hundreds of other known planets fall short.
Not a single one of these planets look just like the Earth.
What makes Earth so perfect? Why does it depend on the moon, volcanoes, even the planet Jupiter? What puts Earth in the ultimate Goldilocks zone for life? On Secrets of the Earth. May 19, 2012. In the Arizona desert, a 35-year-old visitor from Germany is overcome by 105-degree temperatures. The first of 2 hikers to die this weekend from early season heat. Water makes up 60% of the human body.
As little as 2 to 3% decrease in body water can onset the symptoms of dehydration.
Humans on Earth exist on a knife's edge between life and death, surviving only in a narrow range of temperatures. So too, in the solar system, there is only a narrow range in which planets can support complex life. This place, not too hot, not too cold, is called the Goldilocks zone. Estimates put the Goldilocks zone between 67 million and 279 million miles from the sun. And it's just right for the one thing life seems to need: liquid water.
You're not so close that water boils away. You're not so far away that water turns to ice. Perfect, Goldilocks.
We're in the Ka'u Desert on the island of Hawaii. When you look at dry places like this, it really makes you appreciate how vital water is to animals and plants.
Hawaii's Big Island is also home to rainforests, waterfalls, seacoast, and even snow-capped mountains, where the secrets of life's success on Earth play out. Among those secrets, a recipe for life that needs far more than just liquid water.
One of the biggest surprises of the last 20 years is the large number of conditions the Earth needs to maintain its state as being habitable.
Besides Earth's distance from the sun, life also depends on the planet's volcanoes, its large moon, and even the planet Jupiter. Liquid water is important, but that's possible at a wide range of temperatures. Not all of them good for life.
The highest temperature that complex life can live at is very, very different from that of microbes. We animals really can't live much above 113 to 115 degrees Fahrenheit.
The Nahuku rainforest on Hawaii is a Goldilocks zone on a Goldilocks planet.
There are more species packed around me right now than any other place I could go to.
This rainforest and others like it represent the apex of species diversity on planet Earth. The diversity springs from conditions that are not only wet, but also warm without being too hot.
Life likes to be warm. 70 to 80 to 90 degrees, that's ideal. That's where you want to be.
The Earth's volcanoes hold the secret of the planetary thermostat. If it weren't for these mountains of fire, this entire planet would freeze.